Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the X-Men Re-Examined. I'm Dan Bay and I'm here as always with Javier Hakeem. Hello.
Hey everyone.
If you haven't heard the first episode, this is the second episode. You could probably listen to them out of order, but I would recommend in order. Who cares? Doesn't matter. Do what you like. I'm not here to judge you. But what it is we, as adults, re-examine the X-Men animated series that we remember very fondly from our childhood and ask ourselves, is it still... does it stand up to that fondness, or is it just a nostalgia now that we are grown-ups? It's episode 2, Night of the Sentinels, part 2.
Yeah,
what happens in this episode?
We pick up from the cliffhanger from episode 1, and big things happen in this one. Beast is captured. Morph dies. That's right, they killed off Morph. Who does that? X-Men, the animated series of the 90s, does that. Big shock, kids. No one's forever. And we see the X-Men reel from that. They come back defeated. And at the end of the episode, we get the big saving of Jubilee and also taking down the Sentinel factory, where you just get the X-Men coming in there and ripping Sentinels apart like it's their job. And Cyclops rules supreme. He takes out so many.
Yep. Cool. And so we start off, the whole thing starts off, as you say, it's a cliffhanger. We're ending from the where we were at the end of the previous episode, and Rogue says something along the lines of, you're nervous as a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs.
Boom! What a great line.
Great line.
The writers of just... I don't know if that's a typical Southern saying. I would like to hope it's not. And the writers came up and said, this is something that Rogue says.
Yeah.
She's full of those.
Those kind of folksy kind of...
Yeah, it's her equivalent of like Robin's, oh, holy hole in a donut, Batman. It's like, that's her thing.
Yeah.
Super speed, flight, absorption powers, and just great lines.
She's got the homespun wisdom for every situation.
So they destroy the files. By the way, I saw Beast. We've not talked too much about him. Beast is a real interesting character because he is the most feral, non-human member of the X-Men to look at. Like, you look at him and like he's the Beast. He looks like a monster. He's the most eloquent of the, most softly spoken and intelligent member of the X-Men, which is great. I've always loved that juxtaposition in the character.
There's a bit in the previous episode where he kind of monkey climbs along the pipes on the roof over and finds this security panel which says security on it, and he's got the key and he unlocks the panel, and as he unlocks it he goes, but are any of us actually truly secure?
Yeah. Like, his musings. I knew you'd love the musings. Yeah. I do love it. Just before he does that monkey climb as well, he when they realize the laser beams, he starts quoting a poem, and he says, "A minor poet for a minor obstacle."
Yeah.
I couldn't help it. I did a quick Google of it is from a real poem from a poet called Coventry Patmore, and I wonder if his family feels like, a minor poet, Mr. Beast?
Yeah.
How fucking dare you?
Rude. But yeah, like he's got some great lines, but they all play under, like, because he never really delivers as as Zinger. It's always like, oh well,
Well, but what about this?
Yes, these kind of eloquent little
I really think that maybe the character from Wes Anderson's Grand Budapest Hotel, Ray Fiennes' character, Monsieur Gustave, very much reminds me of Beast. Just like has a little poem or a quote for every situation. And when they're in there, like the place is on fire and they got to get out of there, and he's going, as Archimedes said, you're like, Beast, shut the fuck up, we got to get out of here.
That's right. Yeah, because they're he's been left to just... Everyone else is destroying physical records, but Beast gets roped with, like, you have to destroy all the computer-based files. And he's sitting there kind of uploading a virus and doing a poem. And then Storm just fires electricity at it.
At the monitor.
And she's like, no time for poetry.
But one more stanza.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how kind of effective, like maybe, I don't know, maybe that computer is
to a kid, like,
to a network.
that's the computer, she got it.
Yeah.
In hindsight, well, that's the monitor that has nothing to do with the rest of the computer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless she's like maybe destroying an Apple Mac from the late 90s.
Yeah. Everything's on that.
Everything starts going to hell. It's an ambush. The Sentinels land. And I like how they did this where everything goes to hell and you see them come back to the mansion before we'd get a flashback of what actually happened.
Yeah. Really interesting narrative structure here to kind of go...
Take us through that, Dan.
Well, I mean, let's see the outcome here before we actually find out what happened. What's actually important in this moment is not the fight, is not the fighting, is not the powers, is not the but it's the emotional outcome. They go, this is the important bit by initially just cutting the fight out entirely. We never see it. It's just like it went badly.
Yeah. I do love that little shot where they're getting off the Blackbird and Storm kind of just looks at the empty seat.
Yeah.
And just starts crying, you know? Like I say, it's a really good point that it's not about the fight, it's about how the team deals with this loss. Does Wolverine take it in a very mature way?
Surprisingly, no.
What?
He kind of like he sucker punches Cyclops
and threatens him that like next time I'll use these. So he says, "I'm going to punch you now. Next time I will kill you."
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know why they don't get on. What?
Yeah, one of the reasons, and it's only, it's not really, it's seeded very lightly at this moment, but is, what stops them fighting is the arrival of Jean Grey. And who is kind of, has been psychically connected to the team, knows exactly what's happened and has kind of, I guess, I don't know, felt it emotionally as well. And her kind of turning up and crying. There's just this shot of her crying on Cyclops' chest while Wolverine just kind of goes, and looks kind of,
Another tally count we need is like the amount of times that Jean Grey says, "Oh, Scott." Yeah. There's a lot of that.
Yeah. Yes,
yeah.
She does.
It's funny you say that. Like, this is a very subtle seed planting of the love triangle of Wolverine, Jean Grey, Cyclops, which isn't from the comics, I don't think. I think it was invented for the show.
Right.
And then, especially the movies take this and run with the ball with that.
I mean, because it's really resonant. Like, and I think it feeds that kind of small man anger of Wolverine as well. Not that every scenario is in service of that character, but I mean, there's a reason he's the kind of the breakout character. Mm-hmm. The more things that can kind of happen that make Wolverine angry, the more narrative fun can be had.
Oh, absolutely. Because then he can like go have a little, tanty in the garage and turn Cyclops' car into a convertible.
Which I like, to be honest, I in a show that up to this point I've really enjoyed all the jokes. I found I've turned his car into a convertible. I found that a little pushed.
Yeah. I mean, give him a break, Dan. They've just lost some members of the team.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Fair enough. And
he's grieving in his own way, Dan, and those are through forced jokes.
That's his grief. It's property violence and bad puns.
So what did go wrong on the mission? I mean, long story short, they get ambushed. They get overwhelmed. And this is really interesting that Morph dies and a beast is captured. And I think this raises the stakes as a kid when you're watching this. They went out there on their first mission. Not everyone's coming home. And I think you kind of get that as a kid going, Morph's coming back, isn't he? Like, no.
I now know have that along with myself. You're also a huge fan of the XCOM series of games, and I couldn't help but kind of draw the parallels here as they fly back from a failed mission. in their high-tech jet, having a cry and a sad time about the people they've lost on their mission.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's some permadeath right here. This is where it all started, folks. Members down and captured. Beast is gone. Morph's gone. Wolverine's not handling it well. Cyclops is doubting himself.
Yeah. There's a cutaway after kind of the Wolverine drives off being sad in his thing to the President of America on initially speaking on TV, and then we cut to her in the Oval Office. She's so a couple of interesting things here. I mean, first of all, perhaps the classic way to show that it's an alternative reality. The President of America is a woman.
What?
I know.
In this topsy-turvy world?
It is a topsy-turvy world. And she's really weird. She's got really weird inflection and kind of a funny voice. It's quite unusual.
Yes.
But she's visited by the guy that's running...
Gyrick. Yes.
Running the Sentinel program. And basically he gets told by her to stop it. Shut it down. Which makes sense because seems to me the Sentinels have just been walking through car parks and standing on... It's just standing on cars.
Yeah. We're not going to be renewing our Terra Robots subscription this year.
Yeah.
One interesting thing I noticed there was it's actually the building, the complex they attacked was actually the Mutant Control Agency. But when she talks about on the television, she calls it the Federal Security Agency. She had already said beforehand, or they found out from the X-Men, that the Mutant Control Agency is a private organization. So that leads me to believe her announcing it as something federal, that maybe it's a bit shady. And she doesn't want to, this is being sold as something else. And so maybe she's also like, oh, this is getting too public. We've got to end this shit now.
Because it seems like where we're kind of coming in the timeline is that we're kind of coming in at a point where the understanding that mutants exist is only just starting to bleed through into the public.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, there's all that, what is a mutant? And people are very speculative. Like when Wolverine's in the bar, they're like, hey, here's one of those.
Yeah. I don't know if it was a deliberate choice, but it was possibly the grubbiest depiction of the Oval Office. One of the most famous rooms.
It really is.
Particularly in kind of in cinematic and television kind of history, it's so well documented. And the version of it that the show kind of presents to us, it just looks like no one's cleaned it for ages. It's so grubby.
This is what happens when you're an adult and go back and watch something with the kids. Like, look, it's quite dirty, isn't it? I don't know if anyone's cleaned it in a while.
Why is the most powerful room in the world really need someone to kind of give the walls a bit of a wash?
Yeah. And you know what, Madam President, we could put the Stairmaster in the White House gym if you want. I mean, the Oval Office is kind of more ceremonial, if anything.
Yeah. So she's on her, Stairmaster.
So yeah, they say shut it down. Gyrick says no. I like Gyrick answers the phone, his little flip phone. Gyrick here, because this is before before caller ID, so he doesn't know who's calling. Maybe he just likes saying his name. Gyrick here. He just does it twice. I noticed that. So he retreats back to his mutant factory, or no, not mutant factory, his Sentinel making factory, and talks to Bolivar Trask, who from the comics is the guy in charge of the Sentinel program. And do you notice that the Sentinels keep changing size a bit?
They do. They either seem kind of about twice the size of a person, or enormous.
Yeah. Even between shots, there's that one bit where Wolverine jumps on a Sentinel's back, and when he creeps up on him, it looks like the Sentinel's just like twice the size of him, and then he's like climbing up his back, which implies he's about 3 stories high. By the way, that is the best bit of Wolverine. Also, another example of why Cyclops is awesome. Wolverine at this point has not taken down a single Sentinel. In the first 2 episodes, this is the one Sentinel Wolverine takes out for all his aggression. When he got mad at Cyclops for pulling them out of the mission, when Wolverine went to go attack the Sentinels, He had to be saved by Morph because he was about to get shot. And 2, after that, he immediately gets like lassoed around the legs and thrown off like miles away into the treetops.
Yeah,
leaving Cyclops to take out about 8 Sentinels. I'm just saying that at this point, by the end of the first 2 episodes, Cyclops has killed about 10 Sentinels to Wolverine's 1.
Because they come back from the mission and Wolverine is really angry at Cyclops. But from that moment, we actually realize that Wolverine hasn't been there at the moment. He's not present in the fight at the moment where they begin to get overwhelmed. And Cyclops is like orders kind of the retreat. See, he's actually missed that because he's been, I guess he's returning from being hurled,
for being wildly coyoted like half a state away.
Yeah. Also, just on that, how many abilities do the Sentinels have? So they can fly, they can fire a thing that it's, and I'm led to believe that, so lasers in X-Men aren't really lasers. They're kind of concussive beams that...
Yes, well, and Cyclops' optic blasts are concussive. Like, a lot of people mistake them for being heat, like, kind of like Superman's vision. No, they're concussive blasts. And I know what you mean. The Sentinels seem to fire similar sorts of bolts, these laser bolts sort of thing.
Yeah.
What else? The little balls.
They can fire these little gas balls that kind of...
And from the fingers as well.
Yeah. And and of course they can grab through the wall and crush your bed.
Just good old fashioned bed grip.
But they can also fire out this kind of a cable that kind of prehensile that's independent and kind of works like a tentacle.
Do you think they kind of like think about what kind of loadout they want before they go on a mission?
Right, like is it a capture or is it a destroy?
Yeah. What are you putting in your slot? I'm going for the good old the bowlers.
Yeah, they do seem to have to be armed with whatever will be interesting.
Yeah. Just it's very 007, isn't it?
The way they kind of track this down, Cyclops shoots the arm off one of them, and it goes, I've got to go back to base for repair. And the X-Men all go, tee-hee.
Follow him so closely in the X-Jet. Follow him incredibly closely.
There's a real classic example of why the Sentinels are kind of a bit average here. It is that even on returning back to base, it comes through a skylight and falls onto just crushes this massive piece of machinery.
Like, if you've ever tried to come home very quietly drunk one night and just crashed out all over the kitchen, that's how the Sentinel comes through the skylight.
Yeah, it's just trying to take its pants off and tripped over and knocked over a cabinet.
Even Gyrick says to Trask, he's like, do those guys not watch where they're going? They know what they're doing.
They know. They're like, our robots aren't that great. But there's something, and he says, right at, kind of earlier in the episode, he's like, we need 100 Sentinels. Like,
buddy, you don't want 100 Sentinels. We need 100 clowns.
Yeah. We'll jam them into this mini. They've clearly worked out that with the Sentinels, they need to go for quantity over quality. And I'm like, guys, maybe just they seem pretty impressive. Why don't you just try and make them a bit smarter?
No, I didn't call you to this meeting for real answers. Just make it 10 times.
Yeah, I need 100 Sentinels. Then we kind of get to the promise of the episode, which is the whole team kind of turns up at, or the whole strike team, I guess, turns up at the Sentinel factory and fights all the Sentinels. Which is just all you want from X-Men. It's X-Men at its best. Superheroes taking down mindless robots. Couple of great moments. You mentioned it. First of all, Wolverine's claw climb up the back of the Sentinel.
Oh, it's great, isn't it?
So great. I
love how even when he is on the ground. He's still
Yeah,
clawing
wailing
away.
Yeah.
Stop! He's already dead.
Yeah, please stop chopping it. And another moment that I loved, which a real subversion of Saturday morning cartoons. This moment where Sentinel throws Rogue into the ground and throws her so hard that she leaves like a Wile E. Coyote kind of crack in the ground, but it's played
Outline crack.
Yeah, outline crack, but it's played like Bugs Bunny run through the door kind of.
Yes.
But it's played like so straight, and she just kind of gets up and is like makes a quip about it. You know, says something.
Y'all need some manners.
Yeah. But yeah, really lovely kind of moment of kind of cartoon violence.
I wonder if they did that on purpose, just to kind of show like, no, she's okay. She can take it, like a cartoon.
Those probably my fave moments in that fight.
Also, I love that they kick in the intro music again here, and it starts playing very slowly underneath it. And I think that trains you that like, oh, here comes an awesome bit. It's going to come because the music started.
They do it in the first one as well. It's the theme kind of as the underscore for, I guess the big fight of the episode so far. Is kind of a.
Oh, poor Gambit! Like they just keep trying to get his card puns to work, and there's one point they just give up. Where I think it's when they're trying to escape the complex, and they're shooting at Gambit, and he just comes out with his pack of cards and just goes, "Jack's high," or something like. No, he says 5-card stud, Jack's open, and I'm like, that's not a pun. That's just saying rules of a game.
Gambit, come on, man! Like for it to work as a joke, it has to apply to both realities: the reality of playing the game of cards and the reality of throwing explosives at someone. It has to fit both of them.
Go fish?
That only works if you're throwing them at a giant fish. Come on.
Oh, sorry. Go poisson?
Yeah.
I'm in character now.
Explosive.
All right, good. We'll just put him in there. It's good. Just go hit on some more woman.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Go on, Gambit.
I mean, to be honest, he was way better at that.
You know, for a team, I think there's like very little kind of teamwork. It just kind of seems to be like at the end of there, this is how Cyclops takes out the Sentinels. This is how Wolverine takes them out. You know, I do love it when the X-Men really work as a team. There are some moments in there, but more of that, please.
Yeah. I think in the evacuation, we see a couple of things of people, like people who can fly, helping people that can't fly. And that sort of thing. But yeah, no... and the... it might have been in the first episode, actually, where Beast...
Oh, he just hurls them over the
throws
fence.
everyone over the fence, and that sort of thing, which is...
That's how you do it.
Yeah.
So the X-Men come together, they smash up the Sentinels, Jubilee is saved, and she says to the foster parents, I'm going to go live at the school now. You've been the best foster parents we've had. They, if you go back to the episode, they had her for about a year, and they're really nice parents. They're really nice foster parents. They tried their best.
And that kind of wraps the narrative on the kind of opening episode, which has been
the first two,
which has been broken into two to tell a kind of longer form narrative. You know, we've met Jubilee, and she's joined the X-Men.
Like, what have we learned? We learned that they live in a world of fear, that the X-Men have got tension within the team, that they can lose people at any time, so no one is safe at any time. Stakes are that high. And they work best as a team, and that Cyclops and Wolverine are polar opposites.
In terms of hanging threads, obviously Beast is still
captured.
Beast is still captured. In the same way that the structure of this episode hides information from you for a while, we don't see the fight. It's still hiding from us the moment of Morph's death. We never actually see. We never see it specifically. We never see his body. They all just talk about it, and
And when Jean is like, I can't feel his presence anymore. We've never
we never get like a shot of the body not moving. And not chuckling.
Yeah.
Imagine if I hope there's a deleted scene somewhere like, and Morph chuckles again, chuckles slow down, chuckles get fainter, chuckles stop.
I'd love to see the audition reel for let's try the trying to find the distinctive laugh. And just some poor voice actor just going, is it? Yeah.
No, give me something else.
Give it, because there is a degree of like there's a creepy vibe to Morph.
Yes, there is a bit. It's quite a sinister we chuckle, isn't it?
It is, and I mean his power is
deception.
It's a power that lends itself to misbehaving behavior,
manipulation, and all that.
Being.
I mean, if you're not hooked on this series after the first 2 episodes, I don't think it's really for you.
It's game to lose at this point for me. It's such a strong start.
It's great, and we haven't even had the X-Men's greatest villain. We've had Sentinels, which are great. They're great fun and show off the X-Men's skills, but we've not yet met the main antagonist. And that's the next episode.
So my question today is a lot of, I guess, boarding school fiction, which I think X-Men kind of fits into, is huge parts of it are based around we're going to have school lunches, or we're going to have a big feast, or we're going to have a shared dinner. In the X-Men world, when you're at the Xavier boarding school, is there a canteen? Is there a shared dinner? Or is everyone responsible for their own...
That's really interesting. There's no mess hall, is there? I've never seen the canteen in there. And I would imply that this is such a high level... Like, it's a fucking expensive school to get into. All right, the guy, look at the place. They're rocking... high-tech jets everywhere. There's a grand dining table somewhere, and also, eating's not very, very exciting.
I don't know if I need to see a scene about it, but I guess in terms of the world building, I'm interested to know. Like, they're also athletic. Are they all on high protein diets?
Maybe Professor X got like a bowl for each of them, and we don't realize that mutants actually don't sit at tables. They actually eat out of a bowl.
Yeah.
Right? And he can society can never know this because it'll make them look like animals that they're trying to portray them as.
Yeah.
But, they're gifted in one way, but the Lord taketh away. They actually can't use utensils.
Yeah.
They got to eat out of a bowl.
Yeah. It's like, all right,
color-coded bowls.
The trough is filled. They all come and snuffle at it.
So that's the end of the episode there. I mean, it leaves the X-Men animated series in an amazingly different place to other series that were out at the time. We've got a 2-parter. We've seen the X-Men get in there, do what they do, and still leaves it wide open for, we haven't... spoiler, next week, Magneto enters.
It is in the title. We'll see you next week. Make sure to follow the show wherever you get your podcast. Wherever you're listening to it right now, there's probably a button that says you can subscribe to it or follow it or, I don't know, be alerted or something like that. An internet button. Push it right now. But of course, in the early days of any podcast, the best thing you can do to help us out is if you have enjoyed it and you have a friend, let that friend know about the podcast as well. You can follow Harv or myself at various places on both the internet and in real life where we do real life things. You can find all the information about that in the notes to the show. Lots of clickable links where you can see the other things that we get up to, many of which you may enjoy. But until next time, tell a friend, rate, review, and we'll see you next week for Enter Magneto.
See you later, team.
Thanks, Harv. See you next time.
Bye.
Are podcasts too interesting? especially if you use them to fall asleep. I'm Dan Bain, and all 4 seasons of my podcast, Sleepy Time Mumbles, are interesting enough to listen to, but not interesting enough to keep you awake. Sleepy Time Mumbles, a podcast you can miss, wherever you get your podcasts.